Welcome everyone, TheDailyWoo here with my dad. Day number 2 of our road trip, our nostalgic road trip if you will, going to several states across the US. Where are we currently on day number 2?
Niceville, Florida.
Moved here in 94? 84. 84.
What's your name again?
1984 through 88, 89.
5 years, yep.
5 years, and lived in the home at the end of this road.
Right.
Morning. A lot of memories here. In fact, for me, probably the most prominent, I was 10 years old through 14 or 15 years old.
Something like that.
So for me, it was a really the essence of the fiber of my being of growing up. What do you recall mostly about this house, if you really had to? By the way, I'm inviting you to join me and my dad. Shall you? give me some memories.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's see. The what you see there is the built-in carport area. Used to be my office. Come out of the main house and go into that office area. Step down into the office area. And then I remember your mother and I had a water bed back in those days.
That's right, the water bed. The flood of the water bed.
That ultimately flooded once, that's true.
And you had to take the hose through the back window to fill the water bed up.
And empty it out and fill it out, that's right.
And we had a pool that we also used that hose to fill up. I believe we have some photos of not only the office that you were mentioning, but also the pool. So there's the backyard there.
There's
so
the backyard. There you are.
There's Grandpa, your dad.
My dad.
Me. And the paint has been repainted, has now been painted red as opposed to the white paint, which all kind of chipped off
through the years, yeah. Let's see, me at the pool back here. You're by the pool. There you go. There's you in the backyard by the pool. You got your crazy humor from your mother.
I don't know about that. So yeah, you can see the pool here. And then I think in the front too, there's a photo of me on my bicycle.
Let me get that out somewhere. No, I think it's back here. There you go. That's you on your bike.
Is me in front of the bike. I didn't go down any slides on that bike.
This was pre-sliding days. But you rode all over town on that thing.
I did ride. Is that the only bike I had? It might have been the only one.
As far as I remember, yeah.
For some reason in my mind, I remember having a BMX bike, but that's like a 10-speed. Now that I think about it, I did have a couple of bicycles. One of them, I recall, I was cruising down this sidewalk very quickly, jumping curbs, getting a lot of action going in, and I turned this corner, and I had ripped my brakes off. I had decided, my friends and I thought it would be pretty cool if we took our brakes off and just stopped with our feet. We'd stick our foot into the back of the wheel, in between the frame and the wheel. Sometimes it did not go well though, because I turned this corner, and as I was going this way, just like this car is now going by, precisely, I got afraid, didn't want to leap off the curb, and turned abruptly and smashed into this. To avoid the car. I just remembered this. Right here, bam, into this. See, I knew when we got to these spots, it would all start popping back into our heads. Yeah. You had a car.
I did have.
You had.
Of it here, in fact.
When you hear the word lemon,
it was actually.
It was a yellow car, and it was a lemon. This is. So when you look up lemon in the dictionary for a car, there is this. This is my sister, this is my mom, teaching her how to roller skate, and this car was parked right over there on that curb. Yep. You want to tell the funny story about this car? I was playing football.
Down the street.
I was playing football down this very street with my friends at the end of the road, and explain what happened from there.
I got in the car to go over to the church building. And I was forever running out of gas. I mean, it was just my lifestyle back in those days. So
you're running on fumes.
Turned around, went out the road to the stop sign. You can see the stop sign. Turn left, and if you turn left, you go up a little hill.
A pretty good size hill.
Yeah. As I started going up that hill, I started running out of gas. You know how your car goes, and I knew what it was, so I immediately made a U-turn, and it ran out of gas. So I coasted. The engine stopped. I put it in neutral, and the car coasted. It had enough speed on it, coasted down the hill, enough inertia for me to curve around this curve, and coasted right back in front of the house.
And you pulled up right here.
Right there.
And I could see you.
Forever.
So I was down there with, 4 or 5 of my friends tossing the football around,
Yeah.
which also I'm remembering, we had this brainstorm idea to attempt to play tackle football in this road. That lasted about an hour. We decided that's not a good idea, let's go for touch football. Nonetheless, getting sidetracked, my friends and I said, oh, there's my dad. I think I waved at you from over there. He said, see you later, son.
Yeah.
Got in your car, drove off, and then, maybe a play or two later, got tackled in the road.
No car sound.
No car sound. All of a sudden I go, that car looks familiar. I mean, there wasn't many cars that looked like that pulling through town. And there you come in, idling in with very silently at a crawl, pulling in here. You get here, you stop, you get out, remove your briefcase out of the back seat, and walk back inside.
That was so funny.
This very house. This tree here was very tiny when we moved in. This tree was a seedling, just a little tiny seedling.
And there was a hedgerow.
There was a hedgerow. It's in that.
In front of the door.
Do you see the photo of the bicycle again?
Let's see.
There's the back. There it is.
There you go.
So there was a hedgerow. We had this brainstorm idea to cut this down, or maybe it was already cut down. Cutting those hedges down took a week for one, and we said, you know what?
We just quit.
The other 3 hedges look perfectly fine. Now the new residents have removed the hedges, and they've also added a steel or an aluminum roof.
Yeah.
We had this shingled, and members of the church showed up to help.
Yeah.
And not thinking, they, you, myself, our family, all our friends did not think, let's not scrape the shingles off the roof with the nails. So there were nails all over the yard for about a year. I stepped on nails. I must have got 20 nails in my foot. Did I ever get a tetanus shot?
I don't think we ever did.
I survived the tetanus.
Survived the nails. I remember that, man.
Yeah.
Do you remember we were in your bedroom, which was the corner bedroom over here,
I know exactly what you're going to say.
and it was storming outside?
It was.
And I remember I walked over to, you can't see the window here, but there's a window on the other side of the building. And all of a sudden, lightning struck somewhere close.
One of the trees over there.
I thought it was one of the trees, or maybe the pole, or maybe I thought it maybe even hit the house. And just for that split second, I just, wow.
It was either you or I that fell over the back of the bed.
That might have been you.
That could be in my mind. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but it was very powerful.
And the noise was amazing. Yeah. That's the closest I've ever been to lightning that I remember.
A little side note too. Somewhere in this yard, either here, or down there, or maybe over here, I had a great thought to bury some Return of the Jedi Star Wars figures, and I was going to have, what do they call it, a time capsule. And later in life, now we will talk about a time capsule at the church. Yeah. Maybe I got the idea from that. And I buried somewhere in this yard. Now, hopefully no one comes out here with a shovel and disturbs the residents. But somewhere over here is 1 or 2 Return of the Jedi figures that I buried. Did I make that up, or did it really happen?
I think it's in the backyard. I think we did that in the backyard.
We did it in the backyard?
Pretty sure. But I'm a little...
It has been, let's see, 1984 would have been 38 years, 37 years. 37 years.
37.
Wow. Now this is it though. A lot of memories right here. All right, want to head over to the church?
Want to show any more of these pictures?
I think we got them all. Let's go through them again real quick.
There's the backyard. Me and my dad and you. And there's... We should recreate the...
We should. We'll go to the top of the hill
gas. Oh,
and coast down.
And there, another shot.
Oh, there we go. Right there.
Sister.
Your sister?
No, yours.
Whose sister?
Whose mother
Someone's
is that?
sister. That's right there on that little side corner.
It is. And there you are playing the duck hunt game.
NES, 1985, remember it well. 1985 was the year that I discovered Nintendo Entertainment System. I saw Back to the Future for the first time, and I tasted Mountain Dew to my lips and my tongue for the first time. 3 of the greatest moments happened in 1985. Look at that, right there.
Yeah.
Duck hunt.
Duck hunt.
Got Christmas
And
of
you
1985.
you wouldn't let your sister play.
Of course not. That's not what brothers do. They don't let their sister play Nintendo. It was my Nintendo.
Yeah.
Well, it was both of ours.
I got pretty good at it too.
There's the office.
Yeah?
Inside the office.
What's this?
That's a little raceway.
Car track.
Yeah.
Racetrack.
That is cool. That's
Yeah.
right inside the...
Wow. Talk about ancient. That's a typewriter.
That belongs in a museum. Also have some baseball memories. Really like baseball when I was that age. In fact, there was a guy I knew over here. Him and his dad would play baseball in the yard. Instead of his dad like pitching the baseball to him, he had it on a rope. It would swing the rope around and it had the baseball attached to the rope. And then his son would hit the baseball and it would go the opposite way. I thought that was pretty ingenious. But keeping up with the theming of baseball over here, kind of like The Sandlot in a lot of ways, where, you know, the characters from the movie The Sandlot would show up to an empty field to play baseball. This was my Sandlot right down here. And I spent countless days. If you needed to call me for dinner, or Mom needed to call me for dinner, odds are I was probably at the end of this little area right over here.
Is that the house they built on your baseball yard?
They did. Right over there in the corner, you see the fence,
Yep.
is a house that they built, and they ruined the baseball field for the locals.
I remember when you came and told me that. They're building a house over
See, construction crews are not concerned with a few young lads from the neighborhood wanting to play baseball. Progress waits for no one. And there was a fort that someone built over here around the corner. It was like a tree house. I do kind of recall that as well. It was very shoddily built. It was not the best ever. So we're gonna take off from here, drive up, maybe recreate the running out of gas. So I would have been here saying, "See you later, Dad. Have a good day at work." A couple football plays later, look back up, your car, the lemon stealthfully. You were probably thinking, I bet I can get back without anyone seeing me. I'm gonna try to recreate the running out of gas. Give me a play-by-play.
Okay, we came out of Hudson. I came out of Hudson Circle in the Lemon, turned left. There was no traffic. A lot more traffic today than there was that day. Okay, so I start up this hill, the incline.
Looking at it on camera, it's a very tiny incline.
It's steep enough.
Steep enough to where you can turn around.
Exactly. And about where, okay, we're watching the black car go up the hill. Right about there is where it started conking out, and right about there is where it stopped and coasted from that point back down very slowly, very quietly. Made enough, like I said, there was enough inertia that I was able to make the curve and coast ever so gently in front of the house. It's perfect, right where I had lived.
Let's try it. You're all excited to go to work with your briefcase.
Thinking to myself, probably, I'll get some gas up the road here. So, right about in here starts conking like it does whenever it starts running out of gas.
So you're like, whoa, I gotta turn around.
Gotta make a quick U-turn.
Make a quick U-turn here.
Yeah, and this is where I made the U-turn.
Okay, turn the U-turn.
And just put it in neutral now and coast on down. Let's see what happens.
Are you reliving some memories here?
Oh gosh.
We're gonna make it?
Well, I might have been a little further up the hill, maybe.
Maybe you were up the hill to get a little more. Okay, this gentleman
coming down the hill.
This gentleman's thinking, what is this guy doing? Okay, I gotta turn it. This car coming by. You know what? This might work. Let's abruptly turn.
Ah, looks like I remembered it pretty close. Of course, there was no truck here with a trash dumpster. That's great. I gotta tell you, it's funnier today than it was the day it happened.
Right there. I'm over there. Dad's home. Now, just a ways away, about a block from there, is this convenience store, now called a Tom Thumb, but it was a mom and pop store at the time. I used to go in here, did not have any quarters to play the video games, but I would go in and watch the preview screen of Altered Beast, a video game out at that time, and would say, one day I'm gonna play Altered Beast. And eventually I did. They also had Commando in here. They had 2 video games. Now I'm gonna go in here and get myself a coffee. Got a little piping hot caffeinated beverage from a memory from back in the day inside this place. The video games were over there in the corner. Now that I think about it, Altered Beast might not have been one. That may have came out a little bit later, but Commando was definitely one of them. They were tucked away in that back little corner over there. I just talked to a couple of employees in there. They didn't even realize there used to be video games in the corner. They said, gosh, I wish there were still video games in there. But there aren't. But there's coffee though. Okay, moving on to the next spot. There it is, looking pretty much the same as it did. With the circular driveway, you could pull up. Many times you pulled up right here. You know, when it was during a weekday, if you had to go into your office,
right.
Pull up here, go in through the doors. Little small parking lot there out front. Anyone in there?
It's locked.
So this was built recently, because this wasn't here.
Correct. That's not.
This was here.
This is the original.
This brings back some serious memories.
When we first moved here in 1984, the congregation was always changing because of the Air Force base, and people were coming and going that were members of the church from the Air Force. Well, somebody told us a story that there was a time capsule buried somewhere on the property. So one Saturday, there must have been 15 or 20 of us came out here with shovels.
I remember that.
And we dug holes because nobody knew where the time capsule was buried.
And the moral to the story, or the conclusion to the story, is the time capsule was never found.
It's still buried.
It's still here.
Somewhere.
So there's possibly one at the house with my Star Wars figures, and there's also a time capsule here at the church as well.
We dug holes all over the place. I don't even remember what we were using as a guidepost for where to dig, but it was weird.
And they've also added more parking over in this section, which I recall there was one event that we erected a volleyball court over here, and didn't work out too well because there were so many thorns in this section that the volleyball court was a little prickly when you were getting on in your socks. And
Tell them about the volleyball games?
The volleyball with the thorns
With all the,
and all that.
All the little prickly things.
Do you recall the hurricane that we had an overnight stay in here? Inside here.
Yep.
Me and a bunch of others played Monopoly all
games.
night. Was it just one night or was it a series of nights?
No, it's just one night.
Just one night. And we ended up having all the cars. I wasn't old enough to drive then, but anyone who had a car, we pulled them all through here, or they pulled them all through here, or maybe over in here at some area, and they put them up side by side within like a couple centimeters from each other, inch from each other.
Theoretically to protect each other.
So that way if the wind blows one away, it'll
Blow them all away.
I don't know if scientifically that makes a lot of sense. So there was just dozens of cars, probably out in the road. I don't, maybe here.
I'm not even sure.
But they were all, I remember seeing that and thinking, I've never seen anything like that, where they were all wedged together, side by side by side by side by side. And the storm passed. There wasn't a lot of damage. And I can see why we did that, because this is a very sturdy cinder block foundation here. And your office was around the back.
Yeah.
In fact, the office door, if you went through the back section, was back here, right?
There is a door. I don't ever remember using it, but
You would usually go through the front, but this was your office.
and what's interesting is this section where my office and the fellowship hall, which is further down the building part here, this was an add-on to the original building. And there was a defect of some sort in the building, because anytime there would be a heavy rain, you could hear the rain coming between the walls of the two buildings.
So really?
Nothing was ever
Interesting.
done about it, but
We do have one photograph inside from a Halloween, well, we didn't refer to as Halloween, it was called Fall Festival. And here's everyone dressed in their outfits. This was the pulpit and the church pews, and that is inside
in the sanctuary.
this very building, in the sanctuary.
Curtain in front of the baptistry there.
Oh, there's me right there with the cowboy hat. And I was preparing for 2020 right there. For the regulations of 2020, I got my facial covering on. I was predicting the future.
There you go.
From 1984 to early 89, were you preaching here the whole time, or did you take any time off, or was it all those years you were here?
I was here the whole time, yeah.
You also worked a couple part-time jobs on top of the full-time church.
Yeah, the church was small enough, or was small, it couldn't pay me a quote-unquote living salary. So I had to work another job, yeah, most of that time.
And that was Bay Lighting and
I worked
Supply.
at a place called Bay Lighting, which was an electrical supply warehouse.
We should go by there and see if it's still standing.
That'd be cool, yeah, it'd be neat.
Anywhere else besides Bay Lighting?
No, that was
it?
the only place.
All right, let's go by and check it out. It was right over in this area too. I learned a valuable life lesson on humility. There were a couple people visiting from the church. I don't know if I ever told you the story. There were a couple people visiting that were about my age. They were visitors from the church, and one of them fancied himself as a bit of a sprinter and a runner. If you remember correctly, I was, at that time, was a lot more slender and thin, and I could run pretty fast.
You were a runner, yeah.
And everyone I knew in there said, oh, Adam could win a race against this guy. So I came out, they were in there. It may have been like a vacation Bible school or something, and after that, so I came out here and I was walking all around thinking, okay, we're gonna start down at the other end and run past there. This is gonna be the finish line. I think it might have been over there we were starting. And I knew I was gonna win. I was confident I was gonna win. And the moral of the story is, I lost.
All right, speaking of working at Bay Lighting, this building that you see behind me is the warehouse that was Bay Lighting back in the mid-80s. This is actually the rebuilt structure, because somewhere during that period of time, I don't remember what year it was, the Bay Lighting building burned to the ground. It was a massive fire. And then when they cleared the foundation off and rebuilt the structure, this is what they built. And then we, the owner of the company, moved the Bay Lighting business back into the structure. And
What did you do here? You were in sales here? Worked in the office?
I worked in the warehouse. I was
Worked
a
in the warehouse.
driver, and electricians would come by their electrical supplies, and we sold appliances and lighting and stuff like that. And I was one of the delivery guys.
You were telling me a story as we pulled in here about these rocks over here with a hurricane.
Yeah, one of the years a hurricane was on its way, and our boss had us tape up the plate glass windows, which is kind of a traditional thing people do when hurricanes are coming, tape up the windows. And I remember thinking to myself the whole time we're taping up the windows, the hurricane's going to take all those rocks and throw them right through those plate glass windows.
So you didn't put boards up, it was just tape.
Just tape, yeah.
Dad was just telling me that when there was the fire, there was some, obviously this is a different building, but the old building that was here, there was a second ledge also. and those that were in the offices up top had to jump off, and one of the guys broke his leg. Do you remember the pizza place that was over here? Was this where they gave away the free pizzas that time? Was this where they gave away the free pizzas from the pizza place that time?
I don't think this was the place.
There was a place in town, for some reason in my head I was thinking it was this Bayou Breeze place that gave away, when they opened, free pizzas for like the first couple days.
They did, for a week actually.
For a week?
All you had to do was call them up and then come get them. And we went up, we called it in and we went up, and you had to walk like a block.
But it wasn't here.
No, it wasn't here. It was back over more into town in Niceville. We're actually in Valparaiso.
Oh, this is technically Valparaiso?
Yeah.
We've crossed over the town line.
Right.
We're now parked in front of, well, we're at the bank in front of the post office here in Valparaiso. Why did you choose a Valparaiso post office over a Niceville post office?
I don't remember.
I mean, it's pretty much this, it's more or less the same general area, only about a mile away.
Right.
But I have a recollection of us basically in the bank parking lot looking at this, and all the lights were off over here. And it was later in the evening, and you went in, and I was afraid for you that maybe I had seen one too many scary movies. And you went in and there were no lights on. You said, why aren't there any lights on? And you went in that door, and I was in the car waiting for a couple moments, kind of terrified, and you came out with your mail, and we went on with the evening, and everything was fine.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I do. It's amazing what you can recall, what pops back into your head.
Yes, true.
Because I'm seeing this, and this is just, you know, jarring back a memory.
How about that?
In 1988, Niceville High won the state championship in football. And just kind of peering over this fence here, you'll see the NHS lettering in the foliage down there at the end, on the grass hill. We sat there in 1988 and watched them win the championship game. I recall it being very, very cold. It was freezing cold out here.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. We were in this section, I think, one of the year.
And the reason we had to sit on the little grassy hill is because there was no seats. It was so packed.
It was packed.
And there were people sitting everywhere, all along the grass, all in the seats, standing room only. Everyone's sitting all around here. I didn't remember what year it was. We had to look it up. 1988.
That was a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal.
It was a big deal. Niceville High, state football champions for this small town. That was their Hoosiers moment.
There you go.
Driving through the property of RBCS, Rocky Bayou, where I went to school for quite a few years. This was the gym, which was new at the time. Played many a basketball game back in there. Building 700. The gymnasium room.
Yes, yes.
This is the same shop. You said the guy that worked at the shop here worked on your car?
Yeah, the yellow lemon.
The lemon car?
Okay, this is that playground on the left over there was not there. All of this area right here was full of trees, and there was enough room to pull the little school vans. That's what we call buses.
You were a bus driver.
I was a bus driver for the school.
And they were just regular, like Ford Econoline style.
Econoline 14 passenger vans, 12 passenger, 14 passenger vans.
And I was on your bus.
You were on my bus and some other things.
So I just went home with you afterwards.
I think this building on the left was one of the original buildings when you were here.
That's where the office was, as well as, yeah, I went to
some classrooms there.
Yep, that was where I went to. I went from fourth through 8th grade here.
I think so.
And I think 5th grade, 6th and 7th was right inside that very building. Many hours I was inside there. Wow.
Those were the days, never to be repeated again.
Wow, that is so.
Now they actually have school buses.
They got real buses. No more small vans. Now we're both a little hazy on the details, but Dad seems to recall this shopping center, based on the incline of this hill and this turn, possibly the 1140 Suite 1 or the Fantastic Sam's could be it. The video store we used to rent VHS from, and
this little dip reminds me of what it was like pulling up.
so possibly one of these. Just need to reiterate, not confident that was the video store, but we're just assuming it was based on our
Yeah, the trajectory of coming down the hill, that's my memory. And the store was right in this area right here, something like this.
And as much as I love movies, this would be kind of a pivotal moment for me, especially being able to rent films. There was no streaming back then.
Nope.
There was no Blu-rays, no DVDs, all VHS, and you had to rent the VCR.
We had to rent the equipment, the VCR player itself.
Now, if you had, obviously, anyone who had a good abundance of money could buy a VCR. We did not fall into that category.
That was not in our
So we would rent
vocabulary.
the VCR, and there would be instructions on how to hook it up to your television.
Yep.
And you would go in, and there was almost like a metal tree stand that they would put the VCRs on that were in like a briefcase.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were inside. Could have been the nail place, could have been Fantastic Sam's or GNC, or possibly this one. But one of these was one of the first video stores
I think so.
that I frequented, and we would rent, usually every Friday night we would rent the VCR and like 10 movies.
Something like that.
And we would watch those throughout the course of the whole weekend.
And we, and if my memory serves me correctly, and we know how well my memory works, we also had to sign every time we rented the equipment. You had to sign a guarantee thing that you're going to return the equipment and the movies.
Did we ever return them?
Well, we did.
Well, it's too bad we're not here for very long. We're heading out of town here in a bit. If we were here till May 13th, we could go to the NHS Quarterback Club.
Oh,
what is that?
It's supposed to be quarterback club. They misspelled quarterback.
Now, in the shopping center right up here was a movie theater. Now we're on the subject of movies. Been closed for a long time, but I saw Big Top Pee-wee in 1988 inside. Oh, is the door open to the former theater? And it appears as if inside they're doing some construction. They have torn the screen out and the snack bar area, and they're fixing it up for a future development, a future establishment, not a movie theater. Down here at the end was where you would pick up the papers. You had a paper route for a while.
I did. That guy at the Rocky Bayou School, and he was going to give that up, and I asked maybe if I could take it over, and I did, and he ran me through the route, and this was the place right up here where we would pick up the papers. You wanted to go with me a couple of times, and you went with me a couple of times.
Well, maybe like 10 times. Maybe more than that. I started off pretty strong for the first couple weeks. And then you would wake me up at like 3 a.m. and say, you want to do the paper route with me? And I go, I want to sleep. Wasn't it right in here where the papers were dropped off?
I don't really remember. I was thinking it was over at that bank, but I could be totally wrong.
I remember this awning.
Okay.
Nonetheless,
You're probably right.
Nonetheless, you would pull out of here and go to that next block
Then turn the first right.
and take the first right, and that's where the paper route would start.
Yeah.
And then we had to roll up the papers.
And put them in bags.
Put them in bags if it was raining, or use the rubber bands. And the Sunday paper was always 10 times thicker than the Tuesday paper.
Yep.
Tuesday paper was very, very light. So you'd show up here early morning. So you did this as well as minister, as well as bay lighting. So you did something else other than bay lighting.
I guess I did.
You think you think you could remember the paper route?
No.
You turn right here on McEwen Drive. And we would go up. Okay, is any of this ringing a bell? Now, where do we go from here, Dad? Where's the paper route? Picture you have the papers. And I would always see, I'm driving, but you would be in the driver's seat, I'd be in the passenger seat.
You were folding papers.
And we would toss them on either side. So you toss one maybe there.
We only had certain people that we dropped them off to.
Right, it was only like every 10th house or something like that.
Probably we turned right here, I'm guessing.
Take a right. I can still, like, I'm having flashbacks of the papers hitting the sound, hitting the driveways.
Yeah.
There was one time I threw a paper and it kind of dangled on one of the mailboxes.
I think I remember that.
And we laughed the whole rest of the night.
Yeah.
Probably from sleep deprivation because it was 2 a.m. Okay, none of this looks familiar.
No.
I think that's the end of the paper route. At just about the halfway point between Niceville and Pensacola is this rest stop. It has one of the Blue Angels up here on this pole. Still en route to Pensacola. I'm gonna try this windshield wiper. Oh, there it goes. Okay, the car is alerting me that it's... So the way it works is there we go, you almost have like an impromptu car wash. That's pretty neat. New Yorker Deli and Pizzeria. What's the significance of this, Dad?
Back in 1981, when your mom and I moved down here to Pensacola, I started working for an insurance agency called A.L. Williams. And this was our office. My supervisor, regional vice president, this was the office, the house he used for his office. This is where we met, this is where we operated business. So that's kind of the memory that I have of this spot.
Here on Cervantes, right?
Cervantes, 3001 Cervantes.
It's funny you still remember the name of the road and the number of the road all these years later. It's neat how the mind works.
Yeah, well, it was on my business card for many years.
And now it's a deli. They serve food in there.
They do.
Drove a few blocks over, well, a mile or two over, to this park where back in the day there was a concert, an outdoor event. And this road that's in front of this structure, this very short road, is Adams Street. I thought it would be, well, either my parents or myself thought it would be fun to get a photo of me, named Adam, in front of the street sign. And we have a photo to document that of myself in front of Adams Street.
And we've actually found that same sign right here at this corner.
Yeah, there's the tree limbs up there in the distance, and the sign. Well, this is, side note, this is an old pay meter.
How about that?
Parking meter as well. And the sign in question on the corner of Zaragoza Street, and there's Adams Street in the historical district of Pensacola. Am I still as thin as I was back then?
Yeah, but you're a little taller.
I'm still as thin though, right, Dad?
Yeah, right. That's cool.
Let's put a thinning filter on this video.
There you go. That'll work.
Can you see the sign in the frame?
Yeah, I can now.
30 years later.
How about
30
that?
years? Am I getting that math right?
That's close.
40 years. 40 years later.
Yeah. Amazing.
Wow.
Wow.
Time flies.
That's cool.
Got an oversized transport up here. Oh, he's going around that tree limb.
Missing the tree limbs, yeah.
Trying to figure out what that is. That's a mystery.
He's about to turn left.
Is it going to turn? We might get a view of
Maybe
what.
we can get a reading on the side.
Yeah.
Nope.
There's nothing on the side.
Nothing.
Look at this.
Is that a septic tank?
It might be. I don't know what that is.
One day, we're just in the house and we heard this. It sounded like an airplane landing. Oh, it sounded like it was going to land on our house. But it never seemed to pass. It just stayed over our house. And anyway, we went outside and it was a blimp.
Made it over to Forest Glen Drive. This is dated September of 1981. You have the pin there. And there's me and Dad on the front steps, which looks considerably different. The house has been repainted, but those steps are still there, as well as the awning. And we have a number of photos
of the front
door, and there was a dog on the front door.
A weenie dog.
We didn't even have a weenie dog at that time. There's you in front there in the driveway.
Yep.
And this is also where my sister...
That's right.
Where we were living when my sister was born. She was not born in the house, but was brought back to the house. And I had a friend that lived directly across the street, and I went to stay with him when you took Mom.
That's what we did.
To the hospital.
Yep.
What's the next photo? Okay, there we go. More of me in front of those stairs.
And there was a tree in the front yard. It's gone now. By the driveway. There's our car, and there's that tree, and you were standing up against that tree.
Oh, there I am as a pirate.
Yep.
And there's the weenie dog.
Peeking behind you.
Same bricks. Wow.
How about that?
Let's walk a little closer and kind of get that angle from here. Here's the driveway where your car was. This is also where my sister learned to walk. She first learned to walk right here next to the driveway. There's Mom and my sister who are falling over, taking her some of her first steps.
There's that tree I mentioned a moment ago, and there's the driveway.
Wow. I kind of like the paint scheme before more. And this is in the backyard. There I am pulling her around in a little red wagon, my sister.
Looks like you're yanking her down. Fall back.
She's going too fast. This in the backyard here. Okay, this is over at a park. We'll go over there in a moment. And actually, that's the friend that I stayed at his house across the way. I went and stayed with him when my sister was born. And we're going to go by the park and show that. We did go by and notice that the big wheel thing that we're in is gone now. And there's also...
We're going to see if we can find where the pool used to be.
Find the pool. I think the pool might have been removed. But we'll drive by where the pool was as well. Another pool holding my nose in the 9-foot section. It's starting to rain, so we're gonna get back in the car.
I thought I was hot stuff.
You look, you kind of, you have like that look, you have that like look on your face, like
that look.
He's got that look. You know, he's got, you doing some kind of stunt flying or something. It does look so different, but those are the same stairs. And you'll see there's also was not a carport, but a drive-in, what do they call it when you park your car? A garage.
A garage, yeah.
And the garage...
It's now been enclosed.
Has been enclosed and repurposed.
Sure.
That's an interesting roof also. It's like a tin roof on this too. As opposed to the shingles back in September of 1981. I'm glad that you wrote that on there with the pen. It gives us the... Wow. 40, almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
A few months shy of 40 years.
Pretty amazing.
All right, let's go over to the park where the pool was and over to our second home.
Yep.
We lived in 2 spots. There was this one and another one off of Niceville Boulevard. It was just 1 block up. Not far at all to the park. Now this looks considerably different. There was a huge wooden structure in the middle, like a 2-story structure almost.
Like a wheel.
And there was the wheel. And I recall your mom, my grandma, came to visit, her and Grandpa, and we went by here, came to the park, and there was so much here that's been torn down that her comment was, how much does it cost? Is it free? Because she thought it was such an entertainment complex of sorts that they were going to charge admission. Looking at it now, you would never think that comment would ever even be made, because it's been just all the old stuff has been demolished. Yeah. Looks a lot different than it did back 1981, 82. All right, heading over to the second house here in Pensacola. Oh, by the way, we couldn't find the pool. All right, as I make way up to Niceville Boulevard, it will be the home just off to the right. And my fondest, well, unfondest memory was almost burning the property down. I had played with matches. And burned down the greenhouse in the backyard, as well as the half of the wooden fence. And you showed up, and there were fire trucks out front, and you had to park down the road. Remember that?
I do. I pulled up, I was coming up Leesway, and I saw all these fire trucks. I thought, wow, something's going on. It got closer and closer and closer, and it's at my house. Sure enough.
The backyard. I melted the greenhouse.
Plastic covering of the greenhouse.
And then your dad, my grandpa, showed up later, probably around the same time we went to that park. Well, they probably visited a couple times. But he fixed the back fence.
Yeah, he repaired
the
fence
portion of it.
Tried to burn it down, yeah.
So what I'm curious about, if we go around to the back and see if we can find where the fence that Grandpa replaced the fence.
That'd be neat to find. One more thing about this house is that I come home from work one day and your mom says that you weren't feeling well. You are in your bedroom. And I go in the bedroom and there you are, white as a sheet. We took you to the doctor and the doctor said, you go over right now to the emergency room, and they had an emergency appendectomy on you. I think your appendix had burst. That was that was very painful. Thankfully there is an apartment complex here. So we're out looking at the backyard of the fence. Now, my recollection was it was in the far corner of the yard. So if we go this way, the greenhouse was in the far corner of the yard, all the way at the end. So if we go here,
to where the other connection is. Now, none of these look to be replaced. So here's the corner of the yard. It'd be in here. I'm not really seeing a distinct change in color pattern though, are you?
No. It's hard to tell. Been too many years.
Weather worn.
And my dad just did such a great job of fixing it.
That's also a good point. He probably got the same exact boards that were there. And in my mind, it was a whole section. But in reality, it could have just been
5 or 6
a couple different pieces. I'm gonna stop for a bite to eat at a place that we used to frequent very often. Right next to, well, now it's next to Richie's East. Po Folks. Except I recall it being a standalone restaurant. This is part of a strip mall now. I guess the standalone is now gone, but kind of a win in Rome moment when you're in the Florida Panhandle. Gotta go with some Po Folks. In fact, there's also one in Niceville, and there might even be one in Panama City. So the 3 places that we lived at, Panama City, don't quote me on the Panama City, definitely one in Niceville, and 1 or 2 in Pensacola. Never been in this particular one though, but definitely enjoy some Po Folks. Always as a family, this was kind of a treat to go to Po Folks, which I believe is short for poor folks. It's a southern way of saying poor folks, Po Folks. Good old southern cooking. And relatively inexpensive. Oh yeah, that was a good call. A tasty meal, and also got some moon pies. Fun fact, the first place I ever ate a moon pie when I was young was at Po Folks. This isn't the original building.
This is not the original building. All this is new stuff. Okay, hang on 1 second. Let's go real slow right here. This building immediately to my right was the first new building they built. They first met in a house, and then they built this building, and then they tore the house down years later and built this huge sanctuary worship center over here. And this would have been the original parking lot from here. Lots of pine trees.
Yeah, I remember a lot of pine trees, and I do remember the house that we met in.
Yep.
And you and I would do puppet shows.
We did some puppet shows, sure did.
In that house.
Yep.
And right over here where this warehouse now is, was where all the trees were. I was looking at some satellite images and kind of turned the time back. And the house would have been right about here.
Right.
In this precise. And you slept in that house for quite some time.
I did. There was a time period for about a month or so when your mom and you were still living over in Panama City, and I was arranging getting a job over here in Pensacola, and they let me sleep on the nursery floor on an air mattress during the week.
Right here, where that
house,
parking lot is, right there.
That's pretty cool.
But just picture, this parking lot was all pine trees. Did I say palm trees? I meant to say pine trees.
Pine tree, grass and pine trees.
And my sister, at a very young age, stepped in an ant bed right in here and was covered in ants.
In the house, I think there was a shed back there.
There still is a shed, not the same shed, but
Probably not the same shed. And the grass caught on fire. It started burning, and a guy had moved down that he knew from a previous church somewhere up north, had moved down here to live in Pensacola. And he had an extra car that he wasn't using, and it was parked out there, and it burned up.
it burned the car?
Burned the car up. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, this was the first building they built after the house. The house would have been over here.
Okay.
And then this was like a fellowship hall, and then in the back part of it was some classrooms and stuff. And this is you.
That building's completely gone now.
I think if it's not totally gone, maybe it's been incorporated into this new campus complex.
This must have been around Easter time.
I think so, judging by the Easter baskets.
So the house would have been over to the left side.
Over on the left side here, yeah.
This is now a dead end, but used to be Burgess Road. Used to go through. Straight through there. Now it's dead end. They've made a turn. So all the palm trees are gone, and the road has been kind of cut off.
They built some kind of a new throughway that cut the road off. There may be a Burgess Road on the other side.
Ooh. A storm rolling in. Look at the thunder. Ooh, that was a good one. Whoa, that's close when you count the seconds between thunder and the lightning. Running into a little bit of a problem now. Most of the gas stations north of Pensacola are all out of fuel with the exception of diesel. Stopped by about 3 or 4 different ones, and all the nozzles are bagged up. I'm having flashbacks of my winter trip. After a lot of searching, $3.09 a gallon, found a little mom and pop shop that had some fuel. We actually looked it up online, and there is a gas shortage across the entire panhandle. We got pretty lucky with this. Self-pumping nozzle. I'm gonna fuel this thing all the way up. Man, I got a little worried there for a minute. Went in the store and noticed that on the front page of the Pensacola News Journal, sorry, out of service, no gas. Thankfully, the place that stopped off here on the side of the road, this little establishment, they did have fuel. They said they just got their truck in earlier. Lucked out, because it is definitely a shortage in the panhandle right now. Guess I should have checked the paper before we left this morning. Just like that, Alabama state line. Right over this hill. Drove a ways up the road to Georgiana, Alabama, the home of Hank Williams. Painted there on the side of that train car. And the boyhood home of Hank Williams. From age 7 to 11, 1931, Lily Williams moved Hiram, H-I-R-A-M, Hiram, and his sister Irene to this house. When he was 8, his mother bought him a guitar for $3.50 to practice guitar under the roof. Sang on the street for tips. Then they moved to Greenville in the fall of 1934. And then in 1937, at age 14, that's when he started referring to himself as Hank. I never knew that.
I didn't either.
There's quite a little bit of puddle here. It rained quite a bit.
Yeah.
They are closed. Got here a little too late in the afternoon. Oh, look at this. Woo!
Choo-choo train.
train goes right by.
One that's going to hook up to Hank's caboose over there.
It might. The museum opened June 5th of 1993. Let's get in the road here. Let's check it out. That's kind of neat.
And then it'll be gone.
This is the downtown, starting with the post office. Speed limit of 25. Not a real beehive of activity. Oh, there sure is. Something you see a lot of in South End, Alabama. That's gonna do it for today. Getting a hotel right here off of the freeway. An eventful day. A long day. The trip will continue in the next video. See you in the next video. The vlog is over.